6 p.m. and we'll go ahead and get started and call the meeting to order. At this time, we'll go ahead and stand for the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance. Mark, if you can lead us in an invocation, please.
Sure. Let's pray. Father, thank you for today. Thank you for the ladies and gentlemen that serve our community, and we just pray your blessings on them as they make decisions for our community. We thank you for a great city and area that we live in, and we ask you to continue to bless all that we do. We ask this in Jesus' name, amen.
Do we have any visitors' remarks at this time? No visitors' remarks. At this time, it's 6:01. We have a public hearing to receive comments from the residents concerning an appeal on the Planning and Zoning Commission's denial of a request for a conditional use permit to allow a barber shop to locate at 326 West 3rd Street, zoned a single-family district. And if anybody wishes to speak at this time, this is the time to do it. And welcome to the meeting.
Thank you. My name is Martin Acuña. I am the owner of Papi Cuts. And yes, I'm requesting to make my residential property to commercial. That way we can put the barber shop there. Yes, that would be it.
Thank you, Martin.
Mm-hmm.
At this moment, if there's nobody else to speak on the public hearing, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing at 6:02 and proceed on. Okay, at this moment, we will review the consent agenda items. There's a total of 7 of them. If any of the commissioners would like to set aside any of them to discuss or talk about at this time, please let us know. If not, if there's a motion to be made.
Mayor, I'll make a motion to accept the consent agenda number 1 through 7.
Motion has been made by Commissioner Macias
I'll second.
and seconded by Commissioner Vincent. All those in favor signify by saying aye and raising your hand.
Aye.
Aye. And all those who oppose do the same. Motion carries. Moving on to our action items. Number 1, consideration and action to appeal the Planning and Zoning Commission's denial of a request for a conditional use permit to allow a barber shop to locate at 326 West 3rd Street, Zone Single Family District. I'll go ahead and start. In order to, this is something that we kind of ran into a couple of meetings ago in regards to somebody who wanted to do a rental business inside. And so that is something that we are very strict on our guidelines for, and there's certain areas that are zoned for whatever they're zoned for. And unfortunately, we want to I personally think that we should stick to our guidelines, or else we'll change the structure of the city where anybody can start any kind of business or rental in any part of the city. And that's something we want to avoid. And so with that, that's one of my biggest concerns. So I'm not really too fond of doing this.
Mayor, I also agree that we should uphold the current denial for that property the way it was done by the other board.
Okay, and I know that the planning and zoning is the one that's in charge of looking these over, and they were able to deny it. So I'll go ahead and make a motion that unfortunately I would say no to this restructuring of this property to be used for a business.
I'll go ahead and second that.
Okay, motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye and raising your hand. Aye for the denial, and all those who oppose do the same. No motion?
No motion.
No motion. So at this moment, a motion has been declined, and we'll go ahead and move on. Motion made. Okay, consideration and action to approve a service agreement for the 2024 Cameron County Fair and Livestock Show.
Mr. Mayor, the President Valerie Alesmendez texted me, and she works at Hospital Valley Baptist Arlington and had an emergency that she had to take care of. So, you know, it's something that's been done, the same amount they're asking. So it's your choice to go ahead and approve it as is, like it has been done the last few years, as you can see on page 69 in your book, at the 6,000 level, or you can ask her to come again at another time. It's whatever y'all decide.
I know we've done this before, and it's always been the same amount, so it really hasn't changed, and it's been working for the city. So I go to motion that we accept it.
I second the motion.
I'm sorry? I couldn't hear you on the speaker.
You made a motion to approve it, I second the motion.
Okay, motion has been made by myself and seconded by Commissioner Munoz. All those in favor signify by saying aye and raising your hand. Aye, and all those who oppose do the same. Motion carries. Consideration and action to approve a service agreement for the 2023 Cowboy Cook-Off. This moment, we'll have Mr. Larry Cantu to come up and say a couple words.
First of all, I want to express on behalf of the rodeo committee our sincere thanks for all the support you guys have given us, or the city has given us throughout the year. It's working together all the time, and I think that it's a good thing for us in the city of Los Fresnos. New thing for this year for the Cameron County, for the Cowboy Cook-Off is we're adding high school teams to compete. So last year we had our first high school team that came in and they competed, and it was a great experience for these students. So we were inviting all the different school districts to bring a team and participate. So we think that's going to be a great deal for us. And we're also going to continue with the Kids Q Cook-Off. These are kids from 6 to 11, and from 12 to 16 that compete. And we supply everything for them: the barbecue pit, the meat they're supposed to cook, and a T-shirt, and they get awards and ribbons for what they do. So, you know, we ask that you continue to support us. And I think last year, if I'm not mistaken, what was that? 1,500 is what you all did for us. So appreciate anything you can do for us on that. So.
Thank you, Mr. Cantu. Any other council want to make a statement or a motion?
Mr. Cantu, I have a question. So if there's a school, like I know today I was approached by the swimming program that said they want to participate in the bean cook-off and maybe chicken. So they sign up on the regular form?
There's a special form for the high school teams. We're giving the high school teams a discount compared to what we normally charge the CBA teams. So they would have to register and then get with me or one of the committee members, so we can assign them a spot once we get payment on that. But yeah, I sent that out then.
Any other comments?
And the reason they can't register online is that the spots are there for the CBA teams, and their registration is considerably higher, so.
Mr. Cantu, I just want to go ahead and applaud you for including the high schools in the cook-offs. Was that there last year, or is this his first year?
Well, we had one team sign up last year, and it was a culinary arts group from one of the high schools, and they had a fantastic time. It was a great learning experience for them. You know, they didn't do as well as the big competitors, but it was a great opportunity for them, and they thoroughly enjoyed it. They really did. And I think that we're going to have a special category for them where they can get first, second, or third place, but they can also be eligible to win any of the award money and stuff that comes with that for their organization or their club that they're representing.
Well, great job. I think first time I hear about a high school being actually participating in cook-ups.
Yeah,
So
so we're
it's something
excited
great.
about it. It's our first time to officially put that on there, and we hope to have a good turnout. So get the word out if you wouldn't mind.
That's actually pretty cool. Yeah. So I'll go to make a motion that we approve the 1,500 that we've given in the past and continue with the prior one as well.
Second that motion.
Okay,
I'll make a
motion has
motion
been
that we
made
approve.
and seconded by Luis Gonzalez. All those in favor signify by saying aye and raising your hand.
Aye.
Aye. And all those who oppose do the same. Motion carries.
Thank you. Thank you very much for y'all's support.
Thank you. Moving on, consideration and action to approve a service agreement for the 2024 Los Fresnos Rodeo.
Well, again, thank you for all the support you give the rodeo. You know, some of our goals when we formed the rodeo was to bring family fun entertainment to this area, to Los Fresnos and surrounding areas. But one of the other things that we had wanted to do was put Los Fresnos on the map. So I don't know if you saw the handout we sent you, but as you can see, there are people buying tickets from all over the country. So they know Los Fresnos, and we hope that we're sending them with a really good light, a good taste of our community. And that's one of our goals, and I think we're really happy about achieving that. We're all working real hard for next year's rodeo. We've had 6 sold-out performances. So each of the last 2 years, we hope to do it again. Takes a lot to put it on, but we have a great team of volunteers and committee persons that really help us put this on. And then with what we do, we give scholarships. We had hoped to get more entries last year, or this year, and for last year's school group. But we only had 19 entries, and all 19 received a $1,000 scholarship. So we had actually earmarked more money for that, but hopefully next year we'll get more kids to apply. So anyway, again, I would hope that you continue our support as we've done in the past.
Any word on who's going to be your headline performer, Jason Aldean or something like that?
Those guys are way out of our league. You would be surprised how expensive these entertainers are. Jason Aldean, you probably couldn't touch him for less than $800,000 or so.
Just an idea.
No, we're working on that. Now, Friday night, the entertainment, the concert committee has decided to bring the Spasmatics back. They draw a really good crowd, and we're able to get them back. So we're excited about that. But we're still working on the headliner. Well, as soon as we get that nailed down, we'll let everybody know.
Well, I'll cross my fingers and hope that Jason Aldean, hint, hint, comes to the valley. Any
Maybe we'll get
questions?
Mr. Musk to give us $800,000 to bring him down, or somebody like that.
Any questions or comments from the commission in regards to the rodeo?
Hello. First of all, I want to congratulate because yes, you are putting the name of the city out there, and everybody's just waiting for February to come over to the rodeo. So I do appreciate that, and I enjoy very much attending to see everything. And something that I do like as well is that right now you guys are doing the markets. So that's something that it's also very fun for everybody, and it's a great opportunity for all the small business to get to know, for the people to get to know this small business and of course support that. So thank you for that as well.
Yeah, we hope that we bring a boost to the local businesses during the rodeo, and I think we help with that quite a bit, so.
That yes, because I'm part also of the market,
Well, I'm glad we
and
do.
I am looking forward to joining every year as a small business there. So thank you for that.
Again, it's the team that puts it all together, so thank you.
Is there a motion to be made at this time?
I make a motion that we approve the service agreement between the Los Fresnos Rodeo.
Okay, motion has been made by Commissioner Munoz and seconded by Commissioner Fernandez. All those in favor signify by saying aye or raising your hand.
Aye.
Aye. And all those who oppose do the same. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. Thank you.
At this time, action item number 5, consideration and action to approve a service agreement with the Los Fresnos Chamber of Commerce. This time we'll have Val Champion come up and say a couple words.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor and members of the City Council. The Chamber's goals are to promote and assist businesses in our market area, and we seek all possible ways to do that, to announce and to advertise our members' businesses. We also announce and promote social and cultural events to enhance the welfare and prosperity of our community. In this report, there are 7 annual festivals that we organize. I would just like to take a couple of extra minutes and talk a little bit about the Easter Festival and the Independence Day celebration. Both of those are at the beginning of the year, and the Chamber partners with the Boys and Girls Club. And for the Easter Festival, this year we had 9,000 eggs for those kids to search for and find. And there were 50 of those 9,050 were gold eggs, and they had, well, the total of all the prizes in there was around $8,000, and that was in memberships to the Boys and Girls Club. And I mention that because it's very well attended. And the Independence Day celebration, that one is also quite well attended, and it seems that the contests that we've had in the last couple of years attract a lot of people who would like to indulge in that. There is the more important ones, or the ones for the kids. We do 3 watermelon eating contests, and the reason why there are 3 is because there are different age groups of the kids. And it is just absolutely, I want to use the word hilarious, to see these little kids trying to eat as much watermelon as they possibly can. And one of the other things that was sort of surprising this year was that for the jalapeno eating contest, that's for the adults. But there were some people there that I don't know if they were quite adults yet or not, but boy, they were doing very well. Below that in our report, there are 27 new members that we acquired during the past year. And we think that perhaps our chamber is reaching out beyond our market area, because of the 27 members, 15 are from other cities, from Laguna Vista, Port Isabel, Padre Island, Brownsville, Harlingen, and San Benito. So I think that they're beginning to see some green grass in our great city of Los Fresnos. On the last page is a listing of our new chamber member log for 2023, and if you want to know the names of those members. And I would also like to mention in that area that the biggest thing that's going to be coming at the end of this year and beginning next year are the LNGs. And both of the LNG companies have been members of our chamber for a long time, and we're proud of that because we are able to support them. In social media, we do daily announcements that we send out, and all those go on our Facebook page and Twitter page. And some of those postings indicate more than 15,000 viewers. And below that on our report is a summary of our collaboration with the Los Fresnos Community Development Corporation. And beyond that, the last thing in our report is that we respectfully request your consideration for an increase in your monthly stipend to the chamber to assist with rising costs. If there are any questions, I would be happy to answer them.
Mr. Champion, good afternoon. What are some challenges on costs that you're experiencing as running the chamber that you're seeing go up quite substantially?
Well, some of one of the largest challenges that we have is collecting membership from some of our members that have been that are members. It seems sometimes it's interesting because a business or two will walk in and say, we want to become members of this chamber. So the normal question is, well, why would you like to do that? And they said, well, because you really promote our business. You get the word out on our specials and what we do and what we offer for the public. And those are some of the highlights that we experience.
And then people just don't pay like the renewal or something like that?
Well, many of our small businesses, as well, you all know, are moms and pops here in Los Fresnos. And many of them still have economic problems. And so sometimes it's difficult for them. And in those cases, what we do is we go visit with them and say, well, you know, are we not doing what you want us to do for you? And the answer is always, well, no, that's fine, but can you come back next week? Or didn't bring the checkbook and that sort of thing. And so that, we do that a lot.
Any questions from any of the board? Thank you. Mr. Chairman.
Yes, my question here is that you wrote down that it says new chambers members log on 223. They're all new, or they're part of those are new ones?
No, the ones that are listed there, the 27 are new members. We don't, every year we don't, a renewal of a membership, that's not a new member, that's a renewal. So these are all new.
Mark, I have a question for you. I know he, on one of the requests, he said to increase the stipend. What's the current stipend that we give the chamber?
It's $3,000 a month and $36,000 a year.
Mr. Champion, how many members do you have total?
Right now, we have 158 members, which is the most that we've ever had. But I would also like to mention that we also have 250 members that did not renew. So in other words, if all of them had renewed, then we would have 408 members. Right now, we have 158 active members and 250 non-active members, for a total of 408.
What's the amount of the dues that they pay?
$150 for the whole year.
Any complaints from the non-active members of why they didn't renew with us, or any concerns?
Pardon, would you repeat the question?
Any concerns of why some of these companies did not renew their membership?
Yes, some of them feel that they'd rather spend their $150 on something else, and others, their businesses didn't quite make it. We see quite a lot of that. We see these new businesses that are very small, and they come up and they want to join, and so we help them all that we can, but then they just don't make it.
Gabby, did you have something you wanted us to mention?
Mark, I have a question for you. Do we have enough to increase, or can you increase the stipend, or is that pretty much capped at where we're having it at $36,000 a year?
You could increase it. It doesn't fall under like the others with the hotel motel tax, so you can increase this a little bit, and we'll adjust other places.
Have we increased it in the past? Do you remember when was the last time they got an increase or something like that?
I think 3 years ago, it went up $500 a month. Without looking, about 3 years ago.
I would like to make a motion to increase and help them. Maybe we can discuss how much can we increase, because yes, I do see the emails that they send and all the Facebook posts. And comparing to other cities, 150, it's nothing, because in other cities, they pay more than $500 to be part of the chamber, so.
Motion has been made by Commissioner Fernandez, and I'll go ahead and second that.
You have an amount of $500 a month of $42,000, maybe?
42.
How much is the amount that we're giving out there right now?
$3,000 a month.
3,000. Can you recommend something that we can increase in order for?
$3,500.
Okay.
You go up $500 a month, and that'll be fine.
Okay, I'll make a motion to be 500, the increase a month.
And I'll go and second that. So motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye and raising your hand.
Aye.
And all those who oppose do the same. Motion carries. Thank you, Mr.
very
Champion.
much for your support.
We look forward to a great year. Thank you.
We'll get another one.
Thank you, and thank you, Terry, for being here today as well. So moving on to action item number 6. This is a discussion and a review of applications received for the upcoming vacancies and current members in the following boards and positions. First one is Planning and Zoning Commission. We have place 5. We have Henry Bebon. We have place 6, Larry Mead. Place 7, Javier Rodriguez. Park Advisory Board, place 4, Adan Cruz. Place 5, Robert Garza. Housing Authority Board, place 1 is vacant. Place 2 is Robin Garrett. And place 3 is Linda Ramirez.
Mr. Mayor, members of the board, you don't actually do the appointing or reappointing until next time, but we had agreed that we would put them out there in advance so that you can be thinking about it instead of comes up one night and you go, I'm not sure. As you can see by the comments, there's a lot of information on page 97. All of them, all of the folks on there are serving and are willing to serve again and really participate in meetings and do a good job. The only vacancy is in place 1 of the Housing Authority Board, and that one has to come from an appointee from that lives there, and so that has a knowledge. There's 5 people on that board, and one of them has to be that. So Letty Puga, the manager of that, is looking for someone that would be willing to serve that. So that's the only one that is vacant that's not willing to continue to serve. Of course, you can replace any that you wish, but the rest of them are willing to continue to serve.
Mark, do they have to live in the city limits, or is that something that's helped in the
On,
house project? Okay.
yes. Yes,
Has
they
to
do.
live in that community, okay.
Do you have any applicants, new applicants, or other than the ones that are currently serving?
No, the only one we have, huh? Okay. Right.
And at this time, this is just a discussion and a review, so no action to be taken.
No action.
Any questions or comments from the board?
The only comment I would make, Mayor, is that maybe we need to put some of these vacancies on the social media. Maybe some persons out there in the community that want to serve, that don't know there's an opportunity.
I believe that the vacancy can, I think Commissioner Gonzalez said it's only limited to the people that live in that community. So we would maybe give them a flyer or something? Do we do any kind of reaching out to those folks?
That one you're referring to is the Housing Authority Board.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
referring
the only one.
specific to that one.
Right.
Yeah.
So they was just going up, putting a lot of things, there's gotta be somebody with it.
Somebody there, so like a flyer on the doors. But everything else, we have people that are, like you said, willing to serve, and we don't have any vacancies, and I have no questions further. Any questions or comments before we move forward? Okay, at this time, we'll go ahead and move on to action item number 7. This is a consideration and action to acknowledge the finance director's certification of the estimated ad valorem tax collected rate for 2023 and the excess debt tax collections for 2023 tax year.
Mr. Mayor, members of the board, this has to be done each year, tax time. our collection rate is in excess of 97.8, and that includes funds that come from prior years. It also includes refunds that they get for whenever they settle tax problems or whatever. And so all of that is included in there. Did very well, met our budget, and we always have a little bit of excess, and it's always around $50,000, and it's $47,803, and we just have to note that. And that's just a cushion we keep there for rainy day, just in case there's a problem. We don't run into problem meeting our obligations. And so everything is in order, just about the way it is every year.
Any questions or comments from the board?
Hey, Mark, is that pretty much where it's at? You know, last year, the year before that?
Yes, sir.
Mayor, I make a motion to accept the acknowledgement of the finance director certification for the tax year.
Okay, made by Commissioner Macias,
I'll second.
second motion by Commissioner Fernandez. All those in favor signify by saying aye and raising your hand.
Aye.
And all those who oppose do the same. Motion carries. Moving on to action item number 8, consideration and action to acknowledge the Cameron Appraisal District Chief Appraiser Certification of the 2023 tax roll.
Mr. Mayor and members of the board, each year on July 25th is really the deadline. The chief appraisal for the Cameron Appraisal District is supposed to give each entity a certified tax roll. And that one for this year is $454,949,321. So a lot of increase. You've heard it, I've heard it from people. This isn't setting tax rates, this is just acknowledging that that's the total valuations of all the properties in the city of Los Fresnos.
What was it last year, Mark? You recall?
About 360 something,
That's a lot.
$99,000, about $100,000 less, so.
100 million, or no, yeah, 100 million, wow. So it went from 360 to 450, wow. It's a pretty large increase. Go figure. Well, since we're just acknowledging their value, and that's all we're doing here, I'll go ahead and make a motion that we acknowledge their value.
I'll go ahead and second that value for the Cameron County Appraisal District.
Okay, motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye or raising your hand. Aye. All those who oppose do the same. Motion carries. Action item number 9, consideration and action to acknowledge the calculations of the city's no new revenue and voter approval tax rate for the tax year 2023 and for the fiscal year 2023-2024.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, this is another thing we do every year. We have to state publicly what the no new revenue rate is, and that no new revenue rate is 0.553617 per 100 valuation. Right now, we are taxed at 0.705. And so to get basically the same dollars this year that we did last year at 70, the tax rate would be 553617. The other figure that we have to give is the voter approval tax rate, and that's a tax rate that you can choose to go up to that amount without having an automatic election, and that number is 0.724,883. Of course, we never do that. We stay well below that always, which we are doing that this year. And this is not stating what you're going to do. It's just making a statement that those are the two numbers, the no new revenue tax rate and the voter approval tax rate.
Any questions or comments from the board in regards to what Mark just talked about?
Oh, Mayor, I had want to make a comment. I know that we're trying to go with rate for the next tax year, but I know maybe the 65 cents would be too much. Mark, can you explain why it would be too much? I know you gave me a little breakdown on that.
Can we take that up the next vote?
That's for
Because
the next question.
this doesn't have to
Yeah, this
do
isn't
with
for-
Okay, I'm sorry.
the
Go ahead,
tax
we'll go ahead and do
rate you're
that.
setting.
Here, we're just acknowledging the two numbers, and that's pretty much it. So if there's any questions about that, if not, we'll make a motion, and then we'll move on to that question on the next action item. So I'll go to motion that we accept and acknowledge this particular action item, number 9.
I'll second.
A motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye and raising your hand.
Aye.
Aye. And all those who oppose do the same. Motion carries. Now, here's a good one. Consideration and action to propose a tax rate for the tax year 2023. Take a record vote if proposed tax rate exceeds the lower of the known youth revenue or voter approval, and set dates for public hearings if necessary.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, Council, I'll address that in just a minute. Let me introduce, our tax rate right now is 0.705. That was a penny less from last year. It was 71.5. When you vote tonight, you're voting that you won't exceed that amount. You can go below it, but you can't go above that amount. So just want you to know, in fact, if you'll recall, last year, we set it at 0.705, 71.5, and then a subsequent meeting, it went to 70.5. We just had to put a notice in the paper, but it doesn't really change a lot as far as our meetings and the progression of our meetings. So it would if you tonight said 68.5 and then you decided you want to go 75.5, we would have to reset everything. So don't think that's going to happen. So our budget that we've put together thus far with the help of each department is based on 68.5, which is a 2-cent decrease. To your question is, for every penny, it's $44,000. So if we'd have kept it up at 70.5, there would have been an additional about $88,000 to use for streets, for parks, to hire somebody to do whatever. So lowering it by 2 cents, you basically take $88,000 out of your budget. To go an additional, you said to 5 cents, would be $132,000 more dollars. We did not put that in the budget. We based it on 68.5. Costs continue to increase. Salaries you approved last, I think in May, for PD rates to go up, and that cost us an immediate $110,000. But that goes on to this budget, and so we didn't have to cover $110,000 in last year's budget because that happened in May, and so it was only June, July, August, September. So we only had a portion of that, but all of that 100 increase has to go in there, and then that doesn't count any proposed increases for this year. So to answer your question, to do another 132 less, we would have to start taking things out on what normal increases we have. We won't get our insurance amount until about December, so that's going to affect, so we have to project a little bit there because you know it's going to increase If you read the paper, Harlingen had a tremendous increase and reported that quite a few other cities the same way. So that's the only reason why.
Okay, no, that's fine. I just wanted that explanation. So 68 is more pretty much squared with that with a budget for the next coming year.
Correct, 68.5.
Five.
Well, it's really zero, it's 0.685, which is 2 cents less. So how that's calculated on a $100,000 home, it would be about $20.
20 or 40? On 100, on 100.
100,000,
Okay, yeah.
$200,000 would be $40.
About $40. Mark, I know that last year we did that 1 cent drop. It hadn't been done in a very, very long time. And that was something that we felt good that we were able to put some money back in our residents' pockets. And, you know, I was shocked when I saw the 2 cents. I wasn't expecting that. And I think it's a good idea. I think it's exactly what we need to do. But at the same time, we have to balance that off with what we need for the city as far as keeping it running efficiently. So kudos to you guys for being able to put those numbers together and make it work and still give some money back. And that's something that I'm big on.
We see and hear, from what people say about the valuations going up. And so, we've got to be cognizant of that happening and react to it positively. And we think that does, but yet gives a break, but yet still sets us in good shape for the increases that we're going to have in our budgets as well. Even if we don't add things to it, there's going to be normal cost of living increases.
Any questions or comments from the board? If not, if there's a motion to be made.
Oh, hold on, I have a question. Mark, I know it's a surprise when I saw it up on the agenda when it came through. I know last year we weren't prepared to drop the penny, right? When it happened, we were able to figure that out and we're able to drop that penny. But I know just like you were mentioning right now, in the back of my head, I have $100,000 increase that we just gave for the PD. Do you foresee any other department having issues, whether it's maintenance or front office kind of situations where we would see increases coming up like that unexpectedly? Have you heard anything? I know PD may once in a while talk to you and say, hey, we're having trouble kind of hiring people. But has any other department come up with issues outside of the budget that say we're willing to work with it, but it'd be nice if we would be able to get something else?
Not that would change the budget at 68.5. So within that, we're good. If you go lower than that, then yes, it will affect operations and pay.
And if you had $88,000, what would be the first place you'd put it in?
Streets.
Streets. I think that's something we also need to consider. I understand, I'm a big proponent on dropping taxes, but we did have our streets kind of having to be dealt with over the last 2 years. My concern, obviously, if we do drop tax rates, we're also then having to explain people that we could have helped that we are not going to.
But Mark, we are fixing streets, so we do have money set aside for that as well. We have money from the COVID money that we are working on streets and sidewalks, and this is not going to interfere with any of those projects.
We have our money that for street repairs that we saved through the years with good budgeting and being conservative. We saved enough to do that. The COVID money is doing only the sewer part of it.
The sewer.
Which is good to use that as a one-time deal that will, some of those sewer lines are put in the 50s, so you're looking at another 70 years they'll be good, maybe longer than that, because it's better products today than it was then. So we'll be set for a really long time on that. So
Now, The question I have, does this include all the housing development in the last year?
Yes.
It does, okay.
My understanding of the way they do the tax is if it's on the tax roll, if it's built December 31st, then it goes on that valuation now. So there could have been, well, in fact, there is some that will be in that gap that is not, they're not closed on yet, they're not occupied yet. So that valuation doesn't go in until the next year, which we'll see those. We still should see some other increase just by development, not increase in valuations, which is what we want to see. We want to see the numbers go up by only development, and our valuations of yours and everybody else's properties be the same. That would be a perfect world.
Mark, I think it's a perfect opportunity to take a tax break. I mean, I think we're good with a budget. You told us yourself, you already worked on it. We just have to go over it tonight or in the next couple of months. 2 cents, I think it may not seem like a lot, but for some of the residents, it's probably more of the message that we're trying to help them out.
You can say 3 cents now because you did one last year, and that from last year still gone. It's not added back in there, so a total of 3 cents now. So
And I know, Mark, that you wouldn't do this if it's going to jeopardize anything in the city that needs to get done. So I know that the number you're putting out, you're confident things will continue to roll as planned. It's not going to set us back. And again, things are going to only continue to get better for the city as more development comes in.
I would love to do more street repairs. I would love to do other things, but it's just like your home budget. Just because you would love to do it, it doesn't mean it's the right thing to do today. And so, we have to balance all of those things. And you mentioned that, you balance the needs with what we need to do for our residents. And that's why I think the 2 cent decrease and 3 overall for 2 years is really good and keeps money in their pocket, even if it's a little bit better for them.
I'll go to a motion that we approve the 2 cent tax rate.
I'll second.
Motion has been made and seconded by Commissioner Fernandez. All those in favor signify by saying aye and raising your hand. Aye. And all those who oppose do the same. Motion carries.
Everyone raise their hand, so
Yeah.
it's a roll call vote. So
Okay,
each
so-
one of you, yes.
Okay, yes, Alejandro, Mayor
Okay.
Flores?
Yes, Luis Gonzalez, Mayor Pro Tem.
Diana Fernandez.
Yes, place 1, Jose Macias.
Yes, place 2, Juan Munoz.
Can hear you. You want to do it? One?
Perry Place 5,
What was your response? Your response?
pass.
Okay, great. Awesome. Moving on to acknowledgement of city managers' reports. Any updates, Mark, or questions or comments from the board?
The big glaring one, Highway 100, it's better than it was last month. There is some lane closures on the outside lane. I think from the city limits to the light in town, there's 10 areas that they've dug up and redoing. They started on the north side lane, which goes westbound, just before lunch, and they had 2 spots working on, so don't know how they'll go, but what they're gonna do is put those back and get the compaction test, be sure that those are right. Once those 2 lanes are done, they'll go back to that center area around the railroad that they just finished and get those spots, and if that's passes, then they'll do the final overlay on the whole thing, which puts another 1.5 to 2 inches of asphalt, so I think we're getting close.
I know, I feel for like Julia's Restaurant, that little entrance in there and across the street where that little plaza where the dry cleaning is, it's just been hard for them. You can't really get in there and
I
That's
think they
affecting them.
paved across the street to this afternoon, so they might be open, if not today, tomorrow, but hopefully they'll pave the others here in the next day or two. So before the weekend, they're all open.
Fingers crossed. Any of the council want to talk about any of the reports that are listed on here? If not, if there's a motion on acknowledgement,
I'll go ahead and acknowledge the report.
motion has been made by Commissioner Gonzalez
I'll second.
and seconded by Commissioner Vincent. All those in favor signify by saying aye and raising your hand. Aye. And all those who oppose do the same. Motion carries. At this moment, we have a total of 6 department head reports to acknowledge. Is there any that any of the council would like to set aside or talk? Or if not, there's a motion to be made.
Mr. Mayor, I would like to mention one,
Sure.
was been asked by Commissioner Macias for a while on page 175, if y'all would go to that page. And y'all received a 2022 index crime report for the whole city, and that is very favorable. There's always areas that you can look at to do better at, and that's why you do the report. This one was asked to be done by the month, and so we're caught up year to date right now, June. We won't get July's numbers until a little bit later, so it'll always fall 1 month behind. But as you can see, we've color-coded them, Zone A, B, C, D, E. And then the next page, on page 176, is the map that shows you the zones. And that way you can see where some of these, and what they're called is index crimes, is burglary, theft, vehicle theft, assault, murder, rape, robbery, and then you have a total. As you can kind of tell by looking at the bottom, Zone B has the most.
It's Walmart, right? Walmart zone?
And the most by far is theft there, and that's 32. Majority of those fall in Walmart. Anytime that they have a theft, that hits there. It's not all of them. Sometimes it's a theft at a residence or something, but most of those are from the stores. So
Would you say if you take Walmart out, it'll be kind of even with the other sectors?
yes. Anyway, it tells you too what neighborhoods the PD needs to patrol a little heavier and look at. So they'll do that and continue to do that. I want to thank Juan, Hector, and Charlie, the command staff for working on that, particularly Juan, and putting that together. Now that we got it together, it'll be real easy just to update that month by month.
Mark, I want to go ahead and applaud the police department for coming up with the numbers. Like that, at least we have a baseline of what we have occurring here in the city as far as the areas of the community, plus whatever crime rate it is that we have so far. Looking at the report, it looks really positive. I think they're doing a good job. Of course, there's always room for improvement. And I think with that, we can at least have a baseline for this year compared to what's coming up next year and so forth, once the city starts growing.
Yep.
Mark, if you can go ahead and tell the police department, thank you very much for their work. I know this is something that we recently had asked for them, and they did a very good job to get this report out, and it was very thorough. Both the one you gave us last month and this detailed map. And yes, it's something that it'll make it easier for them to update. It's also something that we can use to promote in terms of businesses as well, for future expansions.
Yep.
At this moment, I'll go ahead and make a motion to acknowledge the department head reports.
I'll second.
Motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye and raising your hand.
Aye.
Aye. And all those who oppose do the same. Motion carries. At this time, it's 6:54, closed session, deliberation pursuant to Section 551074, Title 5 of the Texas Government Code, the Texas Open Meetings Act regarding the following evaluation and duties of City Manager, Public Works Director, IT Director, Chief of Police, Librarian, Financial Director, IT Director, and City Secretary. So we'll go to go into closed session at 6:55. Okay, the time is now 8:02. We'll go ahead and open the session back up. Deliberation and possible action on the following evaluation and duty of the city manager, public works director, IT director, chief of police, librarian, finance director, IT director, and city secretary. Possible action. And at this point, the action that we'll take is, I'll make a motion that we go ahead and proceed with the discussion that we had earlier.
I'll second.
Okay, motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye, raising your hand. Aye.
Aye.
And all those who oppose do the same. Motion carries. At this time, we'll go into the budget workshop fiscal year 2023, 2024.
Sorry, I'll put my mic on. The first one, wanted to go to our debt fund. It's pretty simple because our debt is something that we didn't pass this year or anything as prior time. So we just have to cover our debt obligations. And so, as you can see on the paper at the top, our obligations will propose to be right at $1,008,658. And so we're going to have revenue coming in for that and revenue going out for that. And you say, well, where do we get that? Part of our property tax goes for that, which is $631,090. You can see the discount in there, and delinquent property taxes is $12,000. The biggest one there, you say bond payments, and it's transfers from CDC and TERS together of $371,068. TERS, our TERS payment also comes out of here. And so the payments go to make for that projects that we did on Henderson Road and other street projects. If you'll recall, our CDC is paying a total of about $93,000 some to our debt payment here and some to water and sewer. So that's where that $371,000 comes from. So that's good that we have those other funding sources besides all from property tax. As you go down to expenditures, it's to collect our taxes, about $6,500 goes into there. Our principal payment on the loan of on the 2005 loan is $150,000 with some interest. That was a street project we did in 2005. Guess what? It's over in 2025. So we got this year and next year, and then that goes away. It'll be an opportunity to do something with that at your pleasure at that time. The other one is a 2014 bond payment. That's $155,000, 87 interest. I think that was part of this building, and I think it was a 7-year note or 8-year note. So this also goes away here pretty soon. There's a 2007. Yeah, 2000. I think the 2014 is a 10-year one. So the 2017 290. And that's for this building, and 109 in interest. And then the next one is 2018 for 150,000, and you see the interest there. I'll get those for you. You've seen them whenever we present anything dealing with, like the financial auditor. He went over that and showed you the payments and where they went off. So 3 of those go away in 2025, so that's good news. So that's our debt budget, and it's all that we need to go over there. The next one is a tax increment reinvestment zone. Jackie. This is the next one. And this is the one that I was talking about, that we're paid for Henderson Road project and some street work. As you can see, that's a combination of taxes we get from the city and the county. It's the only one that the county pays for, so a TERS is good when you can get them involved. Revenues for the TERS will be about 749,000. Expenditures, 327. You might wonder why the revenue and not as much expenditures. It's backloaded in debt, so we have to save that debt for later, in later years. So we'll have an excess of about 422,000 this year, but we have to pay that over a term.
Sorry, Mark. So like you mentioned, the monies on the other ones that are about to finish off, we could actually move it and add, that way we don't get that back in, so.
No, this actually, the payments on it was smaller at the beginning because when you do a tax increment reinvestment zone, you're taking an area that has little taxes and you're projecting that you will develop it and that it'll create more taxes later. And so you want to backload that debt because at the beginning years, you don't have as much and you have a lot of revenue coming in towards the end of the year. I mean, towards the end of that debt payment schedule over, I think it's over 20 years. So you can see the revenue from the city for that payment's 479,699, and the county's 267,332. We get a little bit of interest, so about right at $750,000. You can see that the increase over a prior year. See, last year we projected about 370. We're actually going to get about 422, in the county 198 versus 234. And 2 years ago now was 333 and 174. So you can see how it's grown. And that's because we've done a great job of developing in those areas because it's only a specific area. Remember the proposal in the zone that we're doing by 803? It only is in that. So those values today are zero because it's farmland or close to zero. As they put houses and stores and stuff on there, those values go up. So that's where that revenue comes from. Expenditures, professional services, $1,000, and then the bond payments, $326,068. So might make a note there that when we finished out the Henderson Road project, the TERS fund didn't have enough funds to do that last piece that we did. So throughout this year, we will pay back the city $47,000. And so to make the city whole. So that's the TERS fund, the debt fund and TERS fund. The next one is the Community Development Corporation. You have a board that operates that. Those revenues come from 0.5% of sales tax. So the better sales in Los Fresnos, the better funds that this organization has to operate on. As you can see, the sales tax, by the way, they approved this budget last night. The proposed is $580,000 in sales tax. That gives about a 2.5% increase over this year. We hope that it will grow faster than that. We've been very successful. You see the growth over the last 3 years, 540 to 580. That's good. If you'll remember COVID time in a couple of years, we had double-digit increases. You're not going to see that all the time. Interest, because of interest rates going up, we're not borrowing money, so we're saving money. So that $10,000 helps us to do more things. So the total revenue would be $590. Salaries, we have a couple part-times that work up to 30 hours a week at different times. We have an intern that works in the summer and the Christmas holidays and helps with different projects. So that's where the salaries and the next couple line items there. Part of your 4%, those people will get a 4% increase too from their salary. Auditor, we got a new auditor. Y'all told me to make a deal with them. I did. Theirs was 12,000 increase. We were able to cut it in half to 6, so very favorable for the city. And so CDC's share of that is 7,500. Professional services is what Desi does as a part-time liaison and worker with that group. Business recruitment and development, CDC helps. The chamber helps in a lot of the things we do in recruiting new business and developing business, not only new ones, but the recruitment and helping our existing businesses to succeed as much as we can. City promotion and advertising is capped at 10% by state law. And so if you look up on sales tax, our revenue is 580,000. 10% of that is 58. So in promotion, we've got 48 and advertising 10. We can move that around within, it just has to be 10%.
Mark, on professional
By law.
services and business recruit and development, is there any chance that maybe they can do like an event to bring all the businesses together and new businesses and kind of go over all the new incentives or the incentives we have now and maybe do some kind of event, something like that, just to
Yeah.
maybe educate those that maybe want to start a business, give them resources and whatnot?
Yes, we continually do that, not as a group, but a lot of inquiries, a lot of reaching out. We send stuff to businesses, and it's part of what Val does, and then Desi does, and then the interns do. We do a lot of mail outs so that it actually gets to them, and we also do a lot of delivery. So we do that, but we can do some
Like an event here or something
We
like
can do
that
some
where we can
bigger-
bring them in here? I
bigger
just thought,
groups if you would like.
thank you.
The next big one is special projects, and that's $288,356, and that's just, if an HEB came in tomorrow and says, we want to locate at this place, but we need gas there, and we don't have natural gas there, and it takes something to move natural gas there, they can do special projects to help that. They can also help, which they've done in street alley repairs that directly benefit businesses. So that's what that is. Part of that goes to their involvement with the Veterans Memorial. They can also do parks and recreation and quality of life projects. And so all of that goes in there. They funded playground equipment. They funded part of our trails and really done a good job over the years in doing that. The next big one probably is a business incentive program, and that has a jump up from 30 to 40,000. And what that is the CDC back a few years ago were looking at, hey, we do a lot of stuff for new businesses. What do we do with the businesses that are already here, already have jobs, already have taxpayers, and so they're already property taxpayers. So they developed a program for sign improvement, storefront improvement, and landscaping improvement. It helps them, but it also helps us. 10 years ago, there were probably mostly 4x4 wooden signs. If you drive up and down the road now, you can see a huge change. There's very few of those, and it's because of this program that the CDC's done, both with sign, landscaping, and storefront. They just recently added another one, and it's an interior improvement grant. And the reason why that came about is there's so many of these property owners that have 8 businesses or 8, what are they called? Huh? They have strip centers and they have these suites. And so, except for a small sign that they can get, the storefront and the landscaping is really goes to that business owner of the property. The person to trying to put a business in doesn't have a lot of help. So they designed this interior development to help, because what you do when you rent that suite, you have to go paint it, fix it up, and equip it. And so this grant will help them do that. What all those are 50/50 grants, so that they have to have some skin in the game, but also the CDC helps, and it comes back, it has come back really good and more sales tax, because if they can be successful in whatever they're selling, that sales tax, it comes back to help them, and then most of it goes to the city, but some goes to the CDC. But also, if it's just jobs, we want to be able to create jobs and provide jobs for our community as well.
Mark, I know we had talked about once a digital sign where people can, we talked about the ordinance of what the city requires for putting those digital signs, maybe having that change so that we could an investor can bring in a digital sign that can help local communities kind of put out a message, or the city, and that's, we are a very heavily trafficked area.
We're looking at that, as you remember, that was going to be,
Eddie Lucio, we had that
we
conversation.
have to adjust some of our ordinance on sign requirements and lessen them. And so I've gotten a couple. I need to get some more. Been working on budget, so that has been something that we'll work on again in October. So for that.
Thank you.
The next really 2 items is the overhead. CDC pays $15,000 back to the general fund for the work I do, the work Jackie does, the work Pablo does to run the management of the CDC. The other one is a transfer debt service and INS of $93,288. Again, that's things that they can do. Part of it's for streets. They can't help a street over here on a residential area, but they can help a street around a business or an alley. And so that's where they have helped with the debt service only on those portions. And they also helped tremendously. If you'll remember, a few years ago, we did a big sewer and a big water project. And part of that debt payment they're paying for, because it serves business community, both water and sewer. So that makes their budget, and it's $590, and so that's all it. Unless you have any other questions, we have 2 more to go real quick. Did I give you one? No? Senior citizens. This one's very easy because our senior citizens program is operated through Lower Rio Grande Valley Development Council. Jackie oversees that program. And you can see we get a little bit of interest because there's some money in that account that we keep separate. The grant is right at $80,000, and it just pays for Lupita to run it on site. And then, really there's not much else to say. It covers telephone, office supplies, electricity at the center, fuel for the van to go help serve those people, take them to get medication, take them to doctors and things like that. Then you have a little bit of building maintenance, and almost $900 in our insurance we have to cover. So really it helps us to have this program, because then we can use that program in the evening, that building in the evening for our community. Any questions on that? And I've got one more and then we'll be done. Revenues, Jackie, can you get me a water? I don't think I can make it. I want to go over the part of the general fund revenue because we do that separate than the department heads. It's really not a department head deal. The expenditures is what they deal with. So the first little block, 2 blocks there has the revenues and expenditures. So we're proposing revenues of 5.4 million, a little change, and of course expenditures are the same amount. As a city, you do a zero-based budget, and so we've got that. You can see it's increased over last year, thank you very much, by about $100,000 in total revenue. And the expenditures, of course, the same. What you really want to see where it says about halfway down where it says operational revenue, current property taxes, you can see the increase that the increase in property values is 1.8 million. Of course, some of that goes to debt that we just talked about. Some of that goes, and that's already taking and considering the 68.5. Property tax discount, people just, if they're start paying their taxes in October, November, and December, they can take discount on them. And so that takes care of that, delinquent taxes and penalty and interest. So you can see where our property taxes total is $1,811,000. Sales tax, this year we have $1,650,000. We figure it'll be 1.7 million, and we're going to leave it at 1.7 because we want to be conservative and not go too high if things flatten out. I think we're going to see some good increases because of our road being opened for a year. If we're able to get it opened up here in the next few weeks. The garbage collection is not much. It's just a few dollars for residential, commercial. Stays pretty much the same. Municipal court fines, we budgeted 545 this year, and we're going to hit about that, and we're going to continue to sit on that. That also, I don't like to raise that dollar because then I don't want people to say we're trying to reach a goal because we have no goal. It's kind of like bottom basement, and we don't want to give tickets if we don't have to. Hopefully people follow the law, and if that came out at the end of the year at 0 and people follow the law, it would be fine. Unfortunately, people don't, and so you can see that it's pretty much the same as last year. There's some differences in the specific fines where they go. As you can see, our budget this year was $695,600, and we're projecting $641,300. And you say, why is that? Whenever the municipal court fines and fees at the top is $545, the same. The state legislature sets fines on the other stuffs, and those are regulated by them, and that is sent back to Austin. Some of it we keep for specific things, and we have to spend them like security. We have to spend that security money on security for the judge. Child safety fund the same way. So anyway, those change every 2 years, and so that's why you see a difference there. The amounts per ticket and per offense is all regulated by the state of Texas. The next section is total grants. We've got $153,499 this year. We're going to hit about that, maybe a little bit less because of the Stone Garden. Some of it's going to roll over into the next year, as you can see, and it'll be $172,500. And that's grants that you've already approved. Operation Stone Garden increased. They're going to give us a vehicle, which is good as part of that grant. So that's positive. Service contract for the school district stay the same at $28,000. What that is, they use our range, they use our jail. Our judge arraigns prisoners and does some things like that. That also, they ask to help at some graduation, football games and things like that, so they reimburse us for that. So when you see them there, we're getting reimbursed for that stuff a lot of times. They're really good about helping in that. The next line item on the back page is hotel motel tax. That stays about flat, unless we get a new motel or a different motel. You know, that's about the max of what they can do. I guess they could have higher capacity at different times would help, but they do pretty good for a one motel. The other ones are franchise fees that are all based on, a lot of it, the state legislature says how much the franchise fees can be for the different items. And so those are pretty well set. And you can see our budget this year was $431,550, and we're projecting $441,400. So it's not much difference there. This last group of things, I'll hit the highlights. The shooting range, about $30,000, and what that is mainly Border Patrol uses that for their training. So we get some funds from them. I think Indian Lake uses it, school district uses it, so they pay a little bit of fee for utilizing to help us maintain that. And it's good for us because we can maintain it and use their money to maintain it, so that's good.
Just on that, I know I was working graduation this past May, and I was able to talk to a few officers about that range. Number one, they're loving it, right, as it continued to get improved. It's it was time consuming the way they used to do things in terms of picking up the legends, and they love the fact that now they don't, it's a matter of seconds to pick up what they have. So I'm glad they're getting use of it, and we're also reaching out to other public officers and stuff to be able to use it.
Cool. That's good to hear those things. Interest is about halfway down that block, and you can see it jumped tremendously, 10,720 last year. This year we budgeted 10. We're going to hit about 93. We're being conservative to say about 84. It'll probably be more than that, but we want to be conservative. I don't think rates are going to go down anytime soon. Right, Mayor?
No, they're going to go down next year, first quarter.
So we might see a little decrease, but this whole year hadn't been up, so we've got some play in there. CDC admin revenue, remember, and the CDC I showed as an expense. That's that 15,000 that comes in here. We show it where it comes in here. The next one is license and permits, and that's for all of the building permits to build all of the houses, subdivisions, everything. You can see last year was $227,998. We only budgeted $175 because you never know when we're going to get a downturn in the economy and people stop buying homes. We think that we're going to hit around 260 this year because there's been a lot of construction. Good for us because that's vacant property that now gets on the tax roll. And that's good growth, not, what do they call the other one, where your valuation just goes up. That's the kind of growth we want, and you see it in the license and permit. We did only do 175 again. If things continue the way they are, that will be higher, but I would rather be conservative, and then we can raise it, and maybe we have an extra $50,000 or $60,000, and y'all can decide, hey, we need to do it for streets or parks or something, or leave it as a reserve for a rainy day. The other ones down that list are pretty steady until the very bottom, reimbursement from fire department EMS. I wanted y'all to see this so that you would know what that is. They carry their own insurance, but it's through TML. As a contractor under the city, they're able to do that. And so their building insurance, liability insurance, vehicle insurance is through us. And so next week, you'll see it on the expense side. This is where they reimburse us for that amount. So if they get charged to us $70,000 for that, we bill them $70,000. And so you can see that we projected at 86,450 and it turned out to be 98,100. We're projecting a little bit increase, 98,950. But whatever they're charged, they pay us back. So as you get through in the total revenue, that's the 5.4 million. And that takes care of everything we want to discuss. And the next week we'll talk about where that money goes. And you can have input in each department head as they go through those.
Hey, Mark,
very
what's
much,
that, the Skyway Towers lease fee? Is that for radios or internet, or what's that?
That is, I can't remember if it's the water tower that they lease space off of, or the tower over here at the water plant. I get confused which one's AT&T, which one's Skyway. I think Skyway is the one right south of the water plant. And then AT&T, some of their fees, that $36,000 is for their big microwaves and repeaters on top of the water tower.
Any other questions or comments? If not, we'll go ahead and adjourn the meeting. The time is now 8:35. Meeting adjourned. Have a good evening. Good evening.